15 seconds. Oh, no. Call to order. Flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open Public Meetings Act statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Augusta, Branchville, Lafayette, and Sussex post offices, and notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, the Star Ledger, and the clerk of boroughs of Branchville and Sussex, and the townships of Frankfort, Lafayette, and Wantage. Mission statement. High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence. By fostering high standards of achievement, we prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. Roll call.
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Kehoe?
Present.
Ms. Keimer?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Notaro? Here. Mr. Bealey?
Here.
Mr. Voicu?
Here.
Dr. Ripley?
Here.
Executive session. A motion will be made at the High Point Regional High School Board of Education enter executive session to provide an update on personnel and negotiations items which are exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussions held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public when appropriate. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session in the cafeteria annex at the conclusion of executive session. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Need a motion to return to public session?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Moving to the approval of minutes for the regular meeting minutes of August 21, 2018, the executive session minutes of August 21, 2018. I need a motion?
Second.
All in favor, or sorry, discussion on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move on to public comments on agenda items only. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open the public comments for agenda items only at this time. The speaker should state his or her name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board, which is time by me. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. We'll go on the presentations. Student council. Ms. White.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm the new executive speaker of the house. Our first football game was a great success. We sold out most of our items, making over $1,000 in sales. Our ninth grade elections are beginning this week, and speeches will be given Friday during unit lunch and be sent out directly after. Our Powder Puff game is on the final day of Homecoming Spirit Week, and each class will wear their class color, and it's the junior girls versus the senior girls. This year's homecoming game will be Friday, October 5th. The survey for homecoming court will be sent out at the end of this week. This year's state charity is One Simple Wish, which is similar to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, in which people believe that every child deserves love, hope, and joy. And our upcoming events are this Friday's home football game, which is USA Day, Red, White, and Blue. Thank you.
Mr. Talman.
Thank you. Did your teacher? HPRHS.
Good evening, welcome back. We're here. As far as the HPA is concerned, we are glad to be back with our students. It's very comfortable and seeing them and hearing their stories about the summer and their excitement for being here. And we came off to a good start. I'd like to thank Mr. Talamay and our two new vice principals that we're running I'm full gas now. I'd like to thank our maintenance department for addressing the mold situations. Thank goodness we're not in the background. I can't imagine being out of school that long. I don't know how they're gonna recruit that time. As far as the new school year, we're looking forward to working together again as usual, and thank you for your service. And thank you for HPA membership being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Principal's report, Mr. Talman.
Thank you, Mr. Vina. Good evening, everybody. How we doing? It's not raised, we gotta be happy with that. For a couple minutes at least. Okay, so I want to reiterate some of Kuso's comments about the opening of the school year. So thank you to our fabulous staff that are here behind us. Thank you to our maintenance staff and our custodial staff, our secretaries, our counselors, a lot of the individuals that work in and out throughout the summer, 12 months, that really do a lot of little things that sometimes go unnoticed until we say they're not finished. We have a fantastic staff. So just want to give a really round of applause for the maintenance staff, the custodial staff, for getting the facilities open and ready. We've had some updated areas in the school. As you know, you can kind of walk around with building and grounds and other areas. Some more collaborative areas in classrooms and the media center. If you haven't had a chance to see the media center, since the summertime, take a look at that. There's some new furniture, more collaborative space in it, and the students really like that. I think Mead's sitting right behind me, so Mead's going to this way. Mead and I worked for a long period of time. Mead's had a great vision there to make it feel more of a student center. Learning times, and as we walked in there today, there was probably 125 students during unit lunch. Chromebooks out, working on desktops, reading in the corner, talking, working on homework, quietly working. It just was really nice to see, and almost every seat was filled. So it's a great student center. It's really what we want to see and utilize. And I hear a lot of times when people come to visit our school, this is your library, this is your media center. So yeah, this is our library. It's our student center, and it's where it likes to be. Tomorrow night, tomorrow night we have our college planning, senior application, and financial aid night. So if that interests any of you, it's a great night at 7 o'clock tomorrow in the auditorium. You may have, if you have a senior high school, you may have had an all-call come out from me last night. And that's a great night because it really talks about the application process in general. Our counselor, I think Mrs. Walton's here somewhere. Mrs. Walton's out right here. Guru for our counselors and all the other counselors as well. Did a great job with that. It's a fantastic night, just an education night, a great resource night, and talk about the financial aid process, which Mrs. Walton is a math person as well. It's very complicated and fast to change, I think 6 times in the last 6 months. So that makes it complicated as well. So it's a great resource for our parents, and thank you to Gib Carter and the guidance department for coordinating that. We had a very successful 9th grade parent night last Thursday night, almost a week from this week. We had a large group of engaged parents, a lot of questions, and a lot of reassurance, a lot of positive feedback at the end that they know, okay, what the 9th grade program is about, what to expect. So we really appreciate that. Thank you to Lisa Frisbee for coordinating that event, and she really was the leader on that event, the point person, and thank you very much for her coordinating that. That's just another one example of the transition program. It's not like we just kind of said, okay, now you're here you go. Lisa and Kira and Don work with those students throughout the year, and then we get ready for November. We're talking about our 8th grade tours. So it's so fast, it always happens, so it's a great time. And then we have a back to school night. We're excited about that. It's next Thursday on the 27th at 7 o'clock. Refreshments are at 6:30 in the main hallway out here to start. Everybody loves to have that time to get together, to kind of see each other and see people that you haven't seen in a long period of time, so that's a great time as well. And we're looking forward to that, and thank you for our teachers and our staff for getting ready for that back to school night next week, which is our big night for the community. If it's okay if I move on to the athletic report, if there's no questions on that. Okay, athletic report. We had boys soccer, big win yesterday against Waukesha, so we're 1-4 thus far. And working hard, and the kids are working very well, very hard. Learning Coach Sack. Girls soccer 1-3 record. Field hockey 2-3 record. With some great wins so far on Coach Reynolds. Cross country, I had to update this, and I just got the tweet as I was walking in that they won again today. Mr. Miller shaking his head. I believe that may have sealed the division champs. I'm not familiar. Both 5-0 girls and boys. So congratulations to the girls cross country team and the boys cross country team for success already in the conference champs. I know they're just coming in and they're meeting out. Girls tennis is 2-1. We have Lauren English, Alex Barkan, Mon Newman, Lauren Lucci, Olivia Anderson, Tiffany Tassel, and Cassie Brick all advanced to the HWS quarterfinals, which is this weekend. Tennis is unique. in terms of the fact that HWS is very early, so we already had that, HWS was already this week. HWFC for tennis is like, we have one match done, a lot of it's built on the previous years, that's the way it goes. So they're down in King Green yesterday, and they competed and did very well. Move on to this weekend. And football is 1-1. Big win last week against North Warren, and they host Newton Braves here, as you heard from Lauren, for our USA Red, White, and Blue out. That makes any sense, but that's what the kids chose, and that's what we're going with for a spirit game for that. It's also going to be our youth football and cheerleader night as well. Mr. Norton does a great job coordinating that. That's going to be Friday night here in the probably most picturesque football field that is in the county, if not in the state. So come out if you want to enjoy that night as well. We also have some other key athletic events coming up. We have the girls' annual soccer kick for a cure game. That's October 11th. And the lights at 7 o'clock. That's against Hackettstown. And then we have that Saturday, the Philocky's annual play big game, October 13th, at 7 p.m. versus Pope John. A couple key things that I want to highlight, Mr. Norton, and pass on to, which I think is fantastic. We have 3 students that are involved in the NJSAA and the NJAC as a whole, as student leaders. So Ryan Freed, who's one of our soccer players, was one of 30 student athletes. He's going to be an NJSAA student ambassador. They reached out to the schools this year and asked for volunteers. We went to the student body, and Ryan was up to the task. He's going to be a great student ambassadar for High Point as part of that. And basically, their voice the parties throughout the year, and they bring information back to the student athletes here at High Point. Tyra Winkle was selected to the NJSA Senior Leadership Summit. That will be meeting on October 5th at the Weston Forestville Village in Princeton. So again, another leadership opportunity for her, our students being recognized for what they do. And Juliana McDonald was selected as a member of the Student Advisory Council to NJSA. So we have multiple areas covered there with 3 different student athletes and fantastic students and very great representatives of High Point and High Point student body. So very proud of them. Any questions on any of that? Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For construction,
Good evening, board, good evening, friends, viewers, staff. There was a big volleyball game today. I did try to get to it, but we won, correct? No, I'm sorry, we lost. But we participated, and our volleyball program is off and running, and I believe we have 30 young ladies that are participating. And I think when we asked the board to support the new initiative, it's about participation and about experiences. So I'm thrilled to see that Mr. Langen has 30 young ladies participating, and we're very happy and proud of that. Thank you for your support. This was the opening day of school. It actually is 2018, and I know you're doubting that for the one reason. The sun is out, right? So we actually did have an occasional moment of sunshine since school started. But that's our wonderful staff out waving, and I have to thank Mr. Fenlon, because apparently our campus is fairly close to an airport. So the FAA has a lot of hoops to jump through. And so thank you, Kevin, for setting that up and for giving us that iconic photo. We try to do something fun every year for our opening photo, and we're excited about that. Our 2-day September in-service, after each in-service, we asked the staff for some feedback. Feedback was very positive this year. The structure of the 2 days was predicated on feedback from previous years, which is this. There's a lot of great professional development. We need some time, opening day, that's self-directed, because we have a lot to do to prepare. So we structured the day in response to that feedback, and the response was very positive. We did focus briefly on 2 initiatives this year that relate to our district goals. One is Lincoln, which I spoke about last month, and we'll talk about it just a little bit more. And the other is character education, Suite 360, Musella, etc. I see Pass It Along up there tomorrow and Thursday. Pass It Along will be here to provide a 2-day training program for all of our 9th grade students on their model of character education. So we hope that's a great success. Thank you, Mr. Van Orden, for working to help set that up. So that was our opening. It was very successful. Every 2 years, New Jersey Monthly comes out with their rankings of the top high schools in New Jersey. We think we should be number 1. Sometimes they rank us elsewhere. It's sometimes challenging to put yourself into a metric. However, I believe the metric that they use has been improved, and I think it's a fairly reasonable set of criteria. Student faculty ratio, SAT. What I like about their SAT metric as of late is they measure the percentage of students that score in the top 30% or the top 40% as opposed to, say, participation or average. Average can be very misleading because some schools have 80% of their students take it, other districts have 20%. So I believe that their metrics have gotten increasingly fair. AP, a combination of how many do you offer, how many students take it, and do they pass the test. Graduation rate, college enrollment. So again, I find that to be a fairly reasonable metric. We, over the last decade, have gone up and down. We've performed quite well. 8 years ago, we had a particularly strong year where we came in at 88. We dropped down in 2012, and now for 6 years, we have increased according to their monthly ranking. So we came in at 112. Now, as soon as you see your ranking, the thing that I tried to do is compare us to 2 sets of comparable schools. 1 is our neighbors, and 2 is our district factor group. The Department of Education assigns a socioeconomic rank. They've stopped doing this in the last few years, but they've put all school districts at one point into clusters of other districts that are comparable socioeconomically. We are a DE school. There are 45 DE high schools. Our state ranking was 3rd among those 45. I think that's quite complimentary to us when you compare our school to other schools in our socioeconomic bracket. Now, when you look at our county, 4th out of 8, Sussex Tech wasn't measured, but of the 8 schools you see, I think that's a good performance. We're proud of where we are. We don't want measurements like this to be the tail that wags the dog, but it's important. We have an outstanding institution, and we want it to be recognized as such, and we believe that this ranking does that. So we're excited that we did very well on this metric, and we hope to do even better in the future. Any questions on that, on ranking? Congratulations to our staff and students who were collectively the driving force behind that success. Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about Lincoln. We are delivering benchmark assessments. Almost all of our math students took a baseline assessment last week. Our 9th graders in biology took a baseline assessment this week. And next week, all students 9 through 12 will take a baseline assessment in English language arts. And we are excited about this because I met with staff members today, and I think I asked the question, what's the problem with the PARCC scores? And on a high school level, the answer comes pretty quick. Many kids have checked out from standardized state assessments. It's difficult. So the pressure and the bureaucracy and the requirements around them are such a turnoff that we do have a large number of students that do not do their best. We are now giving an in-house assessment given by classroom teachers where there's a relationship, where there's buy-in, and we hope that will provide meaningful feedback. If you take a look at what those benchmark assessments give you, an assessment may measure, for example, 10 standards. And after the assessment, it will tell you how your students performed on each of those standards. And that's a degree of specific data that I don't believe we've had access to in the past. Math used this last spring, and again, if you've got 80 students in your 4 geometry sections, you can go standard by standard. What skill is it that you want to assess? You can look at the results and see how each individual class is doing on that standard, and that should have an impact on driving instruction. On our Columbus Day in-service, we hope to be able to take a look at, in particular, the results of our literacy baseline assessment and provide direction and encouragement and best practices in turnkeying things that are already being used to spread strategies and techniques for how health classes, history classes, technology classes, world language classes can play a role in advancing literacy. There is no skill. It's interesting that we talk about social and emotional learning. I've seen multiple articles that talk about what determines whether or not students are successful when they go to college. And they generally point to two things. First one is emotional connectivity. That if you go to a college campus and you feel isolated, and you don't feel that you've got relationships, very good chance you'll be home over Christmas and starting over again. So you've got to feel that connection, and that's one of our district goals. The second is literacy. Can you read at the level that's expected in college? And we hope that we can use this tool to focus a little more on that essential skill. Okay. Yesterday, I was down at Sussex Rural with our very good partner, our electrical co-op. They're quite pleased with the weather as of late. Their meter's been spinning pretty heavily. That's Nick Thomas next to me, and he just left, but he's really an outstanding young man. I believe he aspires to go to the Naval Academy. And Nick is one of our first students who's going to do an internship with a community partner. The gentleman next to him is Mr. Chuck Pike. He's the head of their engineering program. He did a fantastic job. He set up 10 3-hour lessons, and Nick is going to leave High Point over the next 4 months during the last block of the day, and he's going to really look at a project from start to finish, from where they need a new power line put in, how they determine that. He's going to go out and observe them doing it. And Sussex Rural we know it's going to be successful because the young man involved is really exceptional, but they're excited to make this a regular component of something that they offer to our school and other schools. And we hope that the very concise, pretty clear, pretty manageable format that they're using might be something that we can model with other community partners. So thank you to Nick and to our neighbors down the street. Just a couple things off of social media. We're back. School's open. Lots of good, exciting tweets and posts about that. We're getting our pictures taken. Teams are lining up, although according to Mr. Townley, some seasons are almost over. But we're back, and all the rituals of the start to a school year. I think Mr. Baker took his kids on a field trip the first day. I don't know if you had permission for that, but it's pretty cool that it's day one and they're out in the stream trying to catch tadpoles or something. Very exciting. We had a red out, a lot of school enthusiasm. We have really a great senior class, a lot of great leaders, and they're off and running. And pardon me, clickers dying on me. And our Ed Camp is 23 days away, I think. 3 weeks from this Saturday. Last year we had 120 educators, and we're excited again to bring in our neighbors and have a great day of reading. So, that's it. Last week. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Other business. I don't have any other business. Move on to action item curriculum instruction.
All right. I'm going to move items 1 through 6. One is that we're doing the Strong and Smart Students program through the Center for Prevention and Counseling at no cost to the district. 2 is that Seamus Campbell is being appointed as the Affirmative Action Officer for the school year. 3 is that Seamus Campbell is the Title IX Officer for the school year. 4 is that Kevin Craig is the School Safety Specialist for the school year. 5 is that we are going to approve the curricular and student activities field trips that we were given. And 6 is that we are going to approve the professional development activities we were given. So moving those 6 items, I need a second.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Keimer?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. Personnel, Mr. Dunn.
Okay, personnel, there are 9 items, I'd like to move items 1 through 9. Item 1 relates to shift differentials as listed. Item 2 relates to advancements on the salary guide as listed. Item 3 for substitute teacher, Brittany Lima. Item 4, coaching, advising, and volunteering as listed. That was 4. Item 5 is substitute bus driver, Thomas Vogel. Item 6, substitute custodians as listed. Item 7, cooperative work study as listed. Item 8, 6th period assignments also as listed. And item 9, home instruction teacher Marilyn Todd. Seeking a second on item 1 through 9.
Second.
Any discussion or questions on any of those items? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keimer?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. I'll be seeking a motion for extracurricular items 1 through 4. Number 1, looking for the volunteer coordinator for the color guard. Number 2, the extracurricular appointments as listed. Number 3, approving the following individuals as listed. And number 4, recommended that we recognize the following fundraiser events as listed. New motion.
So moved. Second.
Discussion on 1 through 4.
I just have a question about the color guard versus band front. We used to have a band front that was a paid position. What happened with that?
Mr. Talman, can you elaborate on that?
Not familiar with the band front. I know we had one years ago, Ms. Anderson. Not familiar when that ceased to exist per se. The color guard now, I think, has been about a 4 or 5 year
Of a volunteer?
volunteer position. I'll have to look into the band front. I don't know exactly. I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing it. I just don't know when that changed, or if it was just a language change from band front to color guard.
I'm looking at that.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Keimer?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. Okay, policy, Mr. Dunn.
Okay, looks like we have 2 items. First item in policy is just the first reading? Or we have the second reading on this one?
No, revised policies do
Oh,
not
okay.
require multiple readings.
Okay, so the first item is a revised policy for student volunteer. And the second item is the second reading of the new policies that are listed there. Seeking a second? Second. Any discussion on these policy items, 1 or 2?
I just want to say that my concern with number 1 with the revised school volunteer was that, I'm not going to say it's a concern. I'm happy that there are more people being allowed to volunteer for programs if the programs want those people to come in. We used to be limited to how many we could have. And the reason it got limited, and let me back it up in the history, is to eliminate paid positions. That's why we had volunteers. And we had limited volunteers because we didn't want to have too many positions removed by volunteers. However, that's got to be about 10 years ago, and I think that what's happened is that the volunteer program has been successful, and yet people would like more opportunity to utilize volunteers in coaching and wherever they needed it. So I think that it's good that we are eliminating the limited amount of volunteers that we used to have in this policy. That's what the policy change is. So,
Yeah, it limited to 2 per sport. I didn't see any reason to have that, so it was removed. The other issue was
on the volunteers?
background check. That it said formerly that it was not required. We eliminated that and said it was.
Oh, okay.
Nothing else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Anklet?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Conrad?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Keel?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes. Okay, negotiations, it says there are little items before us. The board would like to reach out to the EA and seek an informal gathering of our committee and your leadership in an informal setting without representation, no binding discussion, just a get together where we can exchange ideas and where the district is at and where you're at. Dr. Ripley will reach out to you, Carla, in an email, but the board is very eager to sit down and have a personal or more personal discussion with you guys than we've had in the past. So we're hoping that you will accept that invitation, probably in the near future, next couple of weeks if possible, if you guys could do that. So we just wanted to say that from all of you. And we thank you guys for doing a great job that you do.
Thank you.
Buildings and grounds. What's your committee with Commissioner?
Yeah,
They take over everything.
Mrs. Anderson, do you have anything?
Well, we got to go on a wonderful tour of the building today before this meeting. We had a walk through about 5:30, and I said to Mike Parigi, I said, this is just totally selfish on my part. I like the way the school smells, I like the shiny floors, I like all that stuff, so I wanted to get to walk through it. And we saw the new science rooms that have been redone, which are awesome. We saw the new computer rooms in business, which are awesome. I said, they used to have these big, gigantic monitors that a lot of horse play could have behind. Now they've got little monitors, you can't get away with nothing. But the place looks great, and the gym, oh yes, the West Gym, so you should just take over. The West Gym is beautiful. Football practice was happening while we were there because the fields are too wet, but that'll straighten out too. It really is, it's really an amazing facility, and they do such a good job. Our maintenance crew, the summer workers, all the kids that come in, anybody that does the summer work, they do such a great job, and so much happens, and it looks wonderful. Not to mention, my train of thought just went away. Come back. Oh, the mold. Do you want to talk about that? I knew there was something important. We have no mold. Really, we're not supposed to talk about it. We are in school because our process was great and it's taken care of, and I'm so impressed again with how well it got handled. From our business administrator making some quick phone calls and our maintenance group guys. I'm telling you, when you read about poor HPACOM, we dodged a bullet. We dodged a bullet. This was an atmospheric explosion of mold. It happened to everybody. I was just talking to my elderly neighbor today. She had to have somebody come in and clean the mildew off of her porch furniture. So it's a big deal that we got to come to school when we did. So was I not supposed to say anything about that? So well done, buildings and grounds.
You covered it. We're good.
Good. All right, we'll move on to finance. We're looking for a motion on items 1 through 9. Number 1, we accept the report of the board secretary and business administrator. Number 2, accepting the report of the treasurer. Number 3, approving the report of transfers. Number 4, we approve the payment of the attached bills. Number 5, that we accept the agency accountable education, athletic, cafeteria, principal petty cash, food store, and student accounts. Number 6, that we approve the tuition contracts. Number 7, that we approve the tuition contract between High Point and Sussex County Tech. Number 8, that we grant permission to the Sussex County Youth Orchestra to host a concert on Sunday, December 2nd, during the hours of 12:30 and 6:30. And number 9, that we grant permission to the Rose House, Sussex County Charter School, to host a fundraiser on Sunday, November 11, 2018, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 6 p.m.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on 1 through 9? Roll call.
Mr. Voight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Anklev?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Conner?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro? Yes. Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. This is you, it's all you.
No, I don't, although I was there.
All right, for transportation, I would like to move items number 1 through 5. Number 1 being an addendum to a contract for additional mileage as listed. Number 2, joint transportation agreement for special education routes for the 2018-19 school year as listed. Item number 3, for quoted contract trips for the 2018-19 school year as listed. Number 4, addendum to the contract for additional mileage for the 2018-19 school year as listed. Finally, number 5, for the quoted contracts for trips for the 2018-19 school year, again as listed.
Second?
Questions, discussion?
Mr. Anklev?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Conner?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro? Yes. Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Voight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes. Okay, correspondence, we don't have anything before us. Miscellaneous? Anybody? No? Nothing? All right, public comments on anything, same rule applies, step at the podium, state your name and address. Sure, come on.
As you already know, I'm Gail Tadona of 14 Orchard Street, Frankfurt. I'm glad to hear that the negotiations team is looking to meet with the association again, because up to this point, I've been very distressed with the way that the board, I feel, has been negotiating not in good faith. I've heard nothing but praise about the faculty, but for over a year, you have been disrespecting them by only offering them a 0% increase for 3 years. When you went to arbitration, the mediator stayed for an hour and left. Only an hour. Normally negotiations continue for several hours, and the mediator can come back 3 times. But the mediator was not returning, and I kind of wonder why. The mediator was free, and now if you don't negotiate, you don't come to an agreement, you're going to be in the fact-finder process. And I think that that's already gotten started a little bit. From what I understand, that's a $3,000 fee for the board, and that's, I feel, a waste of the taxpayers' money, because not only are you going to pay that $3,000 fee, but you're going to pay thousands and even up to tens of thousands of dollars in lawyers' fees. Kittatinny has gone through the fact-finding process, and they've already accumulated $20,000 of the taxpayers' money to spend on lawyers' fees and the fact-finding process. So you claim that one of your goals is to be fiscally responsible. However, going and carrying out this fact-finding process really is not fiscally responsible. If you read the fact-finding report of the Kittattinny's impasse this past weekend in the Herald, you really should look at and realize that your proposal of 0% is never going to be seen as reasonable. And you're just going to be spending money on the fact-finder to publicly state that you're not negotiating in good faith. And that's a violation of board ethics. I'm formally requesting to know the amount of money that has been spent on fact-finding fees and lawyer services thus far. Faculty and teachers produce successful students. Investing in them is investing in our children's future. I encourage you to evaluate your negotiation tactics and use board ethics to negotiate in good faith.
Okay. Non-committee board member reports or comments. Anybody? Other business? Anybody have any? All right, so we got others. Need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?